Hi, and welcome to the Who Changed My Project Classification webinar. My name is Andy Fry. I'm an Oracle Projects Consultant with Quantas Consulting. I have over 17 years of experience in the consulting space, primarily in the Oracle Project Suite. We're going to get right into the purpose of the Quantas Classification Tracker. So the Quantas Classification Tracker, which we'll be discussing today, it records and stores any changes, additions, or deletions to the project classifications in Oracle PA. So what this does is it identifies changes to the classifications, including who changed it, when it was changed, what it was changed from and to. This helps troubleshoot auto accounting and reporting issues. It also reduces a tremendous amount of time on confirming what was changed. And it removes the unknown on the classification changes, at least in Oracle PA. So any organizations, anybody out there who spent a lot of time trying to figure out why a project classification changed or why it's falling into a different category from one period to another or whatever the situation is, they'll appreciate this tool. So what organizations can benefit from this? Regulated companies such as utility firms that have to report to a regulator. This is because they'll many times use classifications to categorize their projects, and they're reporting back with that information. Companies that are dependent on classifications for auto accounting generation. Of course, if the classification changes, the class code changes from one auto accounting run to another, then of course your account generation will be different. Any organizations that use classifications for reporting, as well as any organizations that cannot afford time troubleshooting any undocumented changes. So anybody, again, who spends a lot of time just trying to figure out what changes were done on their projects. And some of those things are unknown because the classification can change and change back. And in between that change, some process ran, like auto accounting or a report is run, and people don't know why the projects are falling into different categories. So the overview of the presentation. So we'll discuss the problem that's trying to be resolved. We'll discuss how we've resolved the problem. We'll touch on some terminology, and we'll demonstrate and discuss the following features, such as tracking the changes of class codes, the online query tool, as well as the tracking of deletion of class codes, and the online query tool for deleting or for tracking the deletion, and the project classification audit trail report. And then we'll just wrap up the presentation with the contact information. So the problem we're trying to resolve, Oracle Projects doesn't have an out-of-the-box solution to track project classification changes. So this can be done by any user that has access to update the classifications on a project. Now, some companies have gone and they have put personalizations in place to prevent certain responsibilities or certain key members from not being able to change the classifications or add. Some have used menu exclusions and that type of thing to control who can do it. But many times people who have access to the project need to change or add or update those classifications. And really what we're trying to do here is track what was changed. So the class codes are really critical pieces of information on a project, and they could be used for auto accounting, SLA generation, reporting. It can identify groupings of projects. These changes can have adverse effects on organizations because when those changes occur, if you don't know what it was changed from or to, it's really difficult to manage that. And then, of course, legitimate changes may need to be tracked. So there may be a point in time where projects do need to change from one classification or one class code to another. And we just need to know when that was changed and be able to audit that and track that. So the resolution. So we have a method to track those classifications, and that's the Quantas Classification Tracker. And this tracking method will record the information, such as an addition, change, or deletion. When I use the term change, I'm really referring to any additions, changes, or deletions in this presentation. Who made the change by their Oracle user ID, the time and date of the change, and it keeps a history of all the changes. and it stores even the attribute or the percentages that were changed on if you're tracking DFF information on a classification. A report is also available to share that information if you need to share it with non-Oracle users or if you just need to run a report. And an online query tool exists to be able to query up any changes. So our terminology, I'm going to go through this real quick because if you've gone this far, you're probably an Oracle Projects user. But our classifications are really, when I use the term classification, I'm referring to our class code and our class category. So when I say that, it's that. PA, of course, is Oracle Projects. So DFF, we use that as a descriptive flex fields. So we're going to jump right into the changing of a class code in projects. So we access our project by just querying our project up in a project screen. And you can see here we have our project classification. So we've got our list of classifications. In here again, standard functionality. A user can come in here and make a change, delete, do whatever they choose. And there's no method of actually tracking that. So here I'm going to use the region, and you can see the current value is NA. And if I go up to Tools, Change History, and this is where our tool comes in, our feature comes in. I choose Change History, and I go in and I can see the history of this classification. So when it was added and when it was changed, and the user who created it and the user who updated it. So if I go back down to full history, you can see here, I could see the value was EDM at one point. Now it's NA, sorry, and the date when it was changed. The effective checkbox is checked, which means that value is the current active value. But I'm going to go back here. Oh, sorry. The additional fields. I'm going to touch on the additional fields real quick. You can see here it's a folderable screen, so we can have all of our descriptive flex fields listed, percentage, all that information. So if we're tracking DFFs on our class codes, it'll show up here. I'm going to change my value to CAL for Calgary. And I come back and you can see now it tracked who changed it. So Andy Fry changed the value. I'm going to change it back to NA. Again, class category level. You can see here Andy Fry changed it back. And it's now NA. So you can see, even though the fact that it was a short period of time, I think that's just over a minute, that it was Calgary and now it's NA. I want to point out, in that time, if auto accounting ran or we ran reports, of course, the value of CAL would be used. So this is a good tool to say, you know what, if it, let's say it was on there for a couple of days or overnight and we ran auto accounting, of course it's going to use the value that was on at that time if your auto accounting rules are based on that. So how can we, there's other methods of actually querying up that information, and that's on our change history screen. So I come in here, and this is just a screen that we can query up some of the data, and we can query it by project type, project type class. So we can query all the capital projects with particular changes, or project type. Here I'm just going to pick by my project number just to limit our values. But if we wanted to look, and let's say somebody changed a lot of classifications on a particular grouping of projects, let's say on a project type, we can come in here, pull it up, see what changes were made. So here we can see our change history. So this is all of the changes and additions on our project. So you can see all of our classifications, our class codes. If I go down to full history, we can see here the values that I put in that are there, as well as the values that were there for other class categories. So it's a really good screen to come to, and you can actually just visually see what's going on, just online and see what changes were made to particular projects. So I'm going to touch on the deletion of a classification. It functions very much the same way. I have here a value on the reporting unit. I come in, I'm just going to show that the value was recorded. There it is. That's the date that it was added. It's effective. So it's an active value. And then I deleted the whole classification off my project. So here I deleted that classification off. Now it doesn't exist. So if I needed to say if it was an accident and I realized, oh, I shouldn't have changed that classification, and I don't recall what the value was, because that value doesn't exist in the project, I can't go to my tools change history screen here because there isn't a classification to key on. So I go back to my change history window and I put in my project. I choose deleted records, and here I can see the value that was deleted. So even if I wanted to just choose all deleted records, I would go back to that screen, just check deleted records and do a wild query, pull up everything that was deleted, and it would show me all deletions that occurred across projects. So here it's a really easy way to determine what happened, what's missing on that project, especially, again, if auto accounting is driven from this. It worked last week, it doesn't work now. We can see, oh, the value is deleted, we can add it back. And there's our full history. So our reporting capabilities. So I'm going to show a report that exists where we can actually run an online report to show all of our changes. So here's the project classification audit trail report. And I run this by various parameters. In this example, I'm going to run it by a project number. Here's the values that come up in my project. Again, because I ran it by just the project, it's going to show all of my classifications on that project. I'm going to just scroll a little bit to the right to show the DFFs again show up on this report. Here's the changes I made to the classification when I added Calgary. You can see it shows up in my report. So my summary of the presentation, the Quantas classification tracker will record all the additions, changes, and deletions of project classifications. Of course, it stamps the records with the user, the date and time when the changes were made, and the values it was changed from and to. We have a report that we can pull up the data. Really, what this does, it really provides the Oracle users the ability to know what changes occurred on their classifications. What the benefit of this for the organization is it really saves time, and in some cases a lot of time, and really removes that unknown when classification changes are done. If you have questions or you want to contact me, you can contact me at the information here on the screen. If you are interested in some other tools that we built, you're welcome to contact me, or again, go onto our website at quantasconsulting.com/articles. We have a tool which will take a spreadsheet of classifications and upload those and do those additions or changes in mass. So that's a good tool that buddies up really well with the classification tracker. So I want to thank you for your time. Again, you're welcome to contact me with any questions, and have a great day.